All right, so this is the live recording for our call on Discord. This is a free public Discord call going over a Q&A, questions they may have. So, yeah, this will be published to everyone to see who ended up missing it or had to leave mid-live. So, let's get it. Kind of answered that question already. And so earlier today we had the price go down, making a BPR, and right back up to invalidate. Would it have been a trade you have taken without the hindsight, obviously? And if so, would you have had a tighter stop loss? Still was 100 points on IQ. Yeah, points don't matter. Like we talked about on our lives consistently, what matters when it comes to your stop is making sure it's relevant to the chart. You're gonna have periods of durations where price is very volatile. You're gonna have periods and durations where price is not as much. Points should not matter at the end of the day, right? You should have a set defined dollar risk like we have in the Discord, right? And we always go based off that set defined risk, and we always more so look to size off that, right? So for example, for us, chat, like, Mondays and Fridays we are half size, right? As we have a video in here talking about that, and then and here as well, Mondays and Fridays we are half size. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays we are full size. So, like, for example, if your risk is $1,000 per trade on a full size day, your risk is $500 per trade on a half size day. And so, for a half size day today, what you're more so looking to do is identify, okay, if your stop's 100 points, that's fine. Just make sure it fits in within your parameters of your risk. And again, like I said, there's going to be days where price is very volatile, and you're just going to have to adjust by adjusting the amount of contracts you take per position. And there's going to be days where price is less volatile, right? So some days you'll have a 50-point stop, some days a 100-point stop, some days a 15-point stop, some days a 10-point stop, right? What really matters is the volatility of price. And for me, nothing changes when it comes to us trading. We want to keep on making sure that our areas of interest where we do enter, where we do have invalidation, and where we do have validation off a trade stands the same. And it's a respectable approach every single time. So that's more so it. Again, we've had trades recently that have been a lot more volatile in terms of points wise, but again, that's because the markets have been volatile. You guys go back to yesterday, you look at the move from New York highs to lows through yesterday, it was over 1,000 points, right? So when you see price move like that, there's a good chance your stops are going to be bigger naturally, right? Because price is a lot more volatile. But again, like we said, when your risk is defined, like how we have it in the Discord, right? Once it's defined, you just go based off R, and you let your R accumulate. So the way we go based off the Discord is every day, every weekend, every month, we check, or we more so line up our risk reward. We more so line up our R results, right? And see if they align, right? Because at the end of the day, chat, everyone makes different money. There's some people in here in this call who might be making more money than I am. There's people in this call who make less money than I am, right? Everyone's relative. Everyone's in their own situation in terms of capital. How we base off how we risk is based upon R. We let R more so dictate the results. That way, we're not up the exact same amount of money dollar-wise, but we are up the same amount of money R-wise, if that makes sense. So, like, if we're all taking the same trades with the same set defined risk, again, it's different for everyone else, but if we're taking the same set defined risk, and we're half size on Mondays and Fridays, full size on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, right? When it comes to me, in the results that I base, it's equivalent to what your guys' results are R-wise, which is what's most important. Because at the end of the day, you're not gonna come in here and pay $100 and think you're gonna make $1 million in a month like I did, right? It's just not gonna happen. That's not what trade. You take that, you mindset, you put that in any other industry. That's just not gonna happen. What's most important is learning how to get to that point, right? How to get to that point where you are very profitable, right? And that you do that by taking the right steps and focus on doing the right things. That's how we kind of install it in there. So I need a magic wand. I don't know how to follow my rules. You got to just be disciplined, man. I mean, if you're not disciplined, you just have to really discipline yourself. If you know exactly what you need to do, you just have to do it. That happened to me when I first started trading. When I first started trading completely, I didn't know what I was doing, obviously, but eventually I kind of got an idea of what I needed to do. And then there was a period in my trading career where I knew exactly what I had to do, but I wasn't doing it. You have to do it, bro. You have to do it, right? You want to get to that point where you want to be in terms of profitability, you have to do what you need to do, and that's just be disciplined, right? Even though some days it might suck, some days you might be on the charts for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours in a session, not make any money at all. You have to be content with that because that's how the market is. You're not going to be able to come into the market within the first 30 minutes of the session and be able to catch a 200-300 point move, right? That's not going to happen every single day. What's most important though is just following your system and following your approach. Amazon Trading View, all done on early Black Friday. Can we see an early? No, not really. No, I can't do that yet. You guys could wait a couple more days. Yeah, it's the 21st. The 29th, I might post the 28th, the night of the 28th. We'll see, but I got chat. I told this in my my Discord as well, the paid side. I'm like, bro, I never do discounts anymore, and mainly because I just don't want to shoot myself in the foot. Me doing these discounts, like this discount on Black Friday, like it's a pretty fat one. Probably will never happen again because I don't. I imagine eventually I will raise my prices. Um. So yeah, I hate doing discounts because I just shoot myself in the foot service wise, right? If I provide a service and I make it dumb cheap, like it's just shooting myself in the foot. Um. Let's see. How much percent of your drawdown were you risking per trade on TPT run? I was pretty aggressive to be honest, because I just obviously I know my skill set, I know what I have. I was doing around it typically would vary, but anywhere from 5 to 10%, 5% of my entire drawdown. So yeah, it's pretty risk on because if you do 10% of your drawdown, right, theoretically, if you lose 10 trades in a row, your accounts are blown. That's still aggressive to me, obviously, because they are live accounts. But I was aggressive to the point, or to that point, because I know what my skill set is. I know what I could do. And so for me, I was content with being more risk on because I know I'm at a point where I could, be risky and still see it pan out, right? For me, it's just, I'm at a point in my career, obviously, where 10 losing trades in a row is unheard of. I mean, knock on wood, obviously, but um, it's just not something in my arsenal, right? Even when I have bad stretches, I've never had a stretch that bad. So for me, I was content with, risking that way. For you guys in chat, the reason I don't like harping on my exact risk dollar wise and etc. is because I don't want you guys to take that and try to instill it into your own trading when you guys are not at the skill set that I am, right? I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, sound egotistical. I'm not trying to sound like a jackass. But the reality is I've been doing this day in and day out for almost 5 years, day in and day out. No one's put more hours than me in this industry on the charts. I can guarantee you that. Guarantee you that. And so when people see my risk, they could see it's high, which it is, and relative. But again, it's because my skill set is at a certain point. What your goal should be if you're in the Discord, right, as we always talk about, is your goal should be taking it one step at a time, right? One chapter at a time to getting to that point where your skill set is really refined like mine is, to where you could do what I do, if that makes sense. It's still very hard, but it becomes a lot easier when you learn how to trade, right? If you don't know how to trade consistently, if you have not seen results, what is going to cause you to see results when you size up? That's the same thing, right? So it takes a bit of psychology work. It takes a bit of risk management. It takes a bit of everything to really get you to that point. But what's important is just taking the right steps day in and day out, right? Building the right habitual practices. You build the right habits, right? Initially, it's a conscious effort, right? It's a conscious factor of you just coming in every day and just really trying to do the right things. Because if you're a trader with bad habits and you just do a lot of degenerate shit, when you first try to get right and try to get better with your mindset and with your approach, it's going to be hard because you're so not used to it. But eventually, when you do it day in and day out, over time, it turns from a conscious doing into a subconscious doing. Chat, there's times where we're on Discord live calls through our trading, and I'll just say something, and then someone in chat be like, holy shit, like, that's crazy. And I'd be like, what? And they'll be like, yeah, that's crazy. What you just said there, that makes complete sense. I'm like, oh. In my head, I'm like, it's baseline. It's like normal. It's like, I don't even see that as something special. But, that's just because you don't realize over time when you keep doing good things over and over and over again and keep on instilling the right practices, right? You get a lot better naturally, right? So. TPT with Leto, go to do a better deal for your accounts. Was planning to buy and thinking maybe wait for years. We'll see. I mean, I'm not trying to spoil too much. I'm not going to ruin the surprise, but you guys will see. Do you watch ICT's new videos? Do you use ICT's new concepts? No, not really. I just use a couple of his core pieces, really. When people kind of look at me, I mean, I know I utilize quite a bit of ICT's core pieces, which I do, but I'm not entirely based ICT, right? I was a retail trader before I started incorporating ICT's methods for a bit more precision, right? I was a retail trader. I was already profitable via options, day trading, before I got into futures, before I got into prop firms, before I started utilizing fair value apps. So, yeah, I mean, what he's done, what his concepts have allowed for me to do is become a bit more precise. But, I mean, yeah, it's just, I put in my own work. I didn't really ever use his material, to be honest. But you still got to shut him out, right? Because it is his concept. So, that guy's headset is off. You guys, did you hear me? You might be muted or something, bro. I'm not muted. Trust me, I'm not muted. Let me make sure. Okay. Could you explain your live room and about the trades if you could see what you enter? Yeah, so a lot of people have asked me questions about this. I might just make like a brief video for here on those channels just so you guys can see what's in it. But we have obviously myself. You have the Lanto section where I pretty much include my day-to-day approaches. Right, we have our game plans posted. Right, I'll post the game plan right when we see good significancy on the higher time frame. And if I don't do that, I'll usually still have a higher time frame post, but I'll still have it, or I'll more so post it on the commentary channel. The commentary channel, what you see here, this is more so where we have our trades, where you see me give them out. Right, you see me mention it right here. Here's a good example. What you see me do is you'll see me mention potential, riding back to highs and above 1 minute IFG long. So you see me kind of post this idea prior to taking. Then you see me mention trying the long boom 0.5 bar. Make sure I include the risk to the trade. And then you'll see me kind of mention what we need to see happen and what I'm looking for price to do. So you see price push up, boom, and we more so adjust through that. That's kind of what we do. I don't want to focus on that too much because I'm not trying to like bring in just pure signal bots for anyone who's interested. I don't really care, but I just want to make sure our community stays how it is, which is a very fucking good sacred community. Like, my biggest focus when it comes to Discord is making sure that we have the right group of people who want to come in here and fucking learn. If you do not want to learn, you will get found out and you will get refunded and banned. I can promise you that. If you come into the Discord simply just trying to take signals and not do anything else but take signals, you will get found out and you will get banned. I promise you. So that's what I'm gonna say. But for anyone who does want to come in and trade with us, right, on live and who wants to learn, that's the most important thing, right? That's the most important thing, because when I see you putting an effort and asking me questions that I know could benefit you trading-wise, that means you're taking the right steps, right, to become profitable. And that means you're using the service at the full capacity, right? If you go into a service and you just buy it for the signals, you're not like, you know, taking in everything you can, if that makes sense. We have a lot more than just signals. So this is my section. We have a schedule planning. We have obviously the announcements. This is public. This is public as well. Then we have our game plan. We have our strategy channel, which goes into detail of our strategy. And then we have our commentary channel. And then we have our trade recaps channel, which we break down recaps. Sometimes we'll go live. Sometimes it'll be recorded. And then our investments channel, which I, post when I feel there's a long-term investment. This is used less frequently because obviously these are investments. But, yeah. We also have an analyst section. We have Desi's trades. If you guys don't know, my boy Desi, been on a burner. He got $1 million payout on Apex. We have his bot in here. He's crushing it as well. He gives out his insight as well, alongside his trades he takes. And then we have Brian here as well, which he gives out his insight as well, right? He's been more so swinging a bit more, but he's been doing well overall. And we have this section, which is free. This is just more so the training or alerts section. And yeah, we have our chats in here, premium chat. We have lifetime chat. This is a lifetime chat that we have included. Off topic, boom. General chat, obviously. What's up, y'all? Sports channel, these are more so free. But yeah, when you go down here, we have our education section where we have a couple sections in here. There's 1 or 2 in here that are left empty because I did create these not too long ago. I still plan on putting a bit more content in them. But yeah, we have these sections kind of going over specifically certain things. Not even that, but we also have our basics channel, which go over the basic fundamentals of what we look for in terms of our trading and what we use specifically. We obviously have our sizing channel. Oops. We have Lanto GPT as well. We have our class recordings. We have our futures basics. We have our Discord guide as well. And then trading terminology. This is more so basic. But yeah, we have, not only do we have just purely alerts, but we have so much more to try to get a gauge of how exactly we trade. And the most important thing I always tell people when they first come in, especially if you're inexperienced, is, bro, use the fuck out of the education, right? If you don't know how to enter one of our trades, you're good, right? You have time. Just learn how to enter a trade, right? Learn how we're trading, learn why we're trading. And so, yeah. Can you copy? Nope. When passing your first XFA, how do you suggest scaling as fast as possible without rushing the process and crashing out? That's such a broad question. That just seems like such an emotional question. I'm being honest. Um, it depends what your risk situation is at. If you have less capital, I'd probably say look to focus on less risk. If you have more capital and your skill set is good, I look to more so risk a bit more. So what I'd probably say is if you're on an XFA and your goal is really just a compound and you don't have a time window of when you want to get payout, just more so compound your way up, I'd probably say risk around. It depends what XFA you have, but I'd probably say risk around 5 to 10%. Now, I know I said me going 10% on my live accounts were aggressive. That's a bit different. XFA sim funded accounts, you could be a bit more aggressive on naturally because of the fact that they are sim funded accounts. They're not a live account. And so, yeah, when it comes to the XFAs, I'd probably say risk 5 to 10% per trade. And then look more so to compound your way into payout if you're more so risk less or you have less capital. If you're looking to be a bit more aggressive, you could do 10 to 15%, right? That's more so it. Look to be risk on through there. Thanks for answering that. What do you think of support and resistance? I mean, I think it's fine. I still utilize, support and resistance, right? We utilize true day open in our charts, which is a support and resistance level that we utilize. Yeah, I'm not against it at all. I'm still losing too many funded accounts. When did it click for you? Here's the thing. Here's the misconception a lot of people get, chat. They think that. How do I say this? They think that success in props, it comes when you more start taking payouts. You have to remember that there's a process to getting consistent payouts, right? It's your strategy. It's your trading. That is what it is. I always talk about this in the Discord to my people, but I'm always like, yo, we're quote unquote called traders, right? Quote unquote, right? But what we really are we're risk managers and we're also decision makers. Those are the two main things that we are. Those two things specifically, you have to get very fucking good at if you want to be a consistent trader. Once you get very good at that, then your prop firm accounts will stop blowing up. You'll start getting more payouts, and you'll start to see more consistency. What people lack is in between that, the emotions, the greed, the revenge trading, all that stuff. They get too caught up in that because they want results instantly. You know why? Because they're used to going on social media and seeing a bumfuck scamming and lying about numbers that they're making to lure people into their service. Chat. Trading is not easy. Trading takes effort. And what's important is to make sure that you guys are putting in the right effort and taking the right steps. Whether it's my Discord or somebody else's, make sure if you do join a community, it's a community that has your best interest. It's not someone who just simply comes in, gives an alert, fucks off. It's someone who comes in and makes sure he or she addresses the right things. That's more so it. You have to take the right steps. Trading is not easy. If trading was easy, your grandmother's dog would be trading. That's as simple as that. So, kind of joking with that. But, yeah, I mean, you just got to take your time with it, really. That's what it is, right? You got to take your time with it. At the end of the day, chat, you're not going to become profitable overnight. I know a lot of people on Twitter saw me post what I did on TBT. Some could see that as, oh, yeah, overnight, blah, blah, blah. He got lucky. No. If any OGs in here, any OGs in my Discord, I've been doing this Discord since around 2022. I've been on here. And they've seen my journey as I've slowly scaled up, chat. I wasn't making $1 million in a month 3 years ago, right, in 2022. No, an average month for me in 2022 was maybe, 5 to 10K a month trading. So, right, there's levels, there's steps you have to take. I'm not saying it's going to take you that long. I'm not going to say it's going to take you that short. But it just depends on when you really want to lock in and put in quality time. That's it. You have to put that in, chat. There's no avoiding it. You have to put in that time. You have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to put in that time. It's like the gym, chat. You cannot get in shape without doing the hard work. You have to do the hard work. It's as simple as that. So my thing to y'all is whether you decide to go on your own journey or join a community, just make sure if you do join a community, it's a person and it's a team, it's a group of people that have your best interest. Don't join some butt-fuck shit, that just more so gives you a signal and fucks off, make sure it's people that really have your best interest. That's more so it, again. So, what average are you running per day / week? Per day is kind of, that's too, little to ask, if that makes sense, because every day's different. Um, Weekly, I don't know. Weekly is it's still. You should ask me on a monthly approach, right? That's what more so matters. I think asking me what my average R per day is. That's just too little because every day is different. Every day's unique. So is every week. Like this week, we're up good. Last week was more so a compound week. All of October, we fucking murdered. But then the first half of September, previously, we were more so stagnant. So there's going to be durations. What matters though is in the long term, you are profitable, right? When you go file your tax on your 1099 NEC, right? On when you go file in your tax chat, what do you want? You want to make sure you are profitable. So, right, it's about taking the same approach, same steps. Just don't get too caught up in that short mindset of I want to make a fuck ton of money within the matter of a couple of days or a couple of weeks. No, You got to make sure you take the approach as, okay, let me take these next couple of weeks, next couple of months or so on, and make sure I'm putting in the right effort and the right energy into the right things. That way I could get to that point where, I could be making, 30K a month, 20K a month without even thinking about it much, right? When you get to the point, chat, where trading is something where you just look to trade, right? And you have no emotional attachment and you have no, how do I say, you just have no obligation but to trade and follow your system. That's when you reach pinnacle. For me, chat, on TBT, right, before I made that, the 1.52 mil, whatever it was, on TPT, I was already having 6-figure days on the account, right? If you guys have been following my burner or been watching me on Brian's live, like I've been having multiple 6-figure days beforehand. Nothing's changed, but the fact that on those days where I did hit major homers was just following my risk system and allowing my risk to carry me, right? What alters a day, chat, between me having a compound day or me having an explosive home run day is simply whether my risk management trails me out and realizes me at a smaller gain or a bigger gain. It's as simple as that. Yeah. How do you choose profit targets? I typically will go based off, for a day like today, for example, a profit target of mine would have been high of day, and a profit target above that would have been an hourly array. Wick highs work as well. So this is a area of interest that I had in mind, which was 24.402. It's just simply a relative high, right? What I'll either do is I'll either do higher time frame external range liquidity, like highs and lows, or I'll do higher time frame lower highs or higher lows, if that makes sense. So like if we're looking to play upside, chat, we'll have lower highs through higher time frame be areas of significance to mark off for levels. If we're looking at areas of interest towards the upside, we'll look at hourly bearish PD arrays to where we could more so look to have take profit levels like we did here. And again, if we're looking to trade upside, we'll look at higher time frame external range liquidity to more so base take profits off. So for me, it's just areas of interest, Chad. How I based my take profit are just simply areas of interest in the market where I feel once price fulfills that area of interest, we could then see price potentially pivot back down. And what do we see here? We see price, come up here, run past high, then we see price take out this lower high, right, off a bullish trade. And you see price kind of come back down here and pivot before end up trading back up higher. But for us scalpers, chat, these moves down they mean a lot because we trade higher leverage through a smaller time frame. So these moves mean a bit more. So it's important to make sure that you just mark out good levels, and typically through a higher time frame, you'll find good levels. Like for me, for example, chat, we had an idea to go long last night. Obviously, it's a pretty fucking ambitious long for what it was. We never ended up getting that trade. But you see me more so base my take profits, what? Break even off that wick high, hourly FEG entry, hourly gap fill. So you see me more so mark out the significance of this higher time frame PD array as more so take profit areas of interest, even though I'm trading a lower time frame entry, if that makes sense. That's how I always base. I feel like obviously the higher the time frame through your levels, the better. And yeah. To show us rage manager. Yeah, we already kind of talked about that. I'm not trying to like spam the Discord in front of your guys' face like that, but yeah, we already talked about that. Our risk is determined. We're about 0.5 hour risk Mondays and Fridays. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, we're full size risk. And you know exactly what our risk is because obviously you follow the sizing channel. And then you know exactly how we execute trades because I mentioned the trade before we take. And on top of that, I mentioned exactly when I enter. So again, you go here, right? You see it, potential in play. I kind of mark out, give you guys a visual where the stop is, where the TP intent is. Right, then you see me say, trying the long, 0.5 bar. Boom, as soon as I say that, we're in. And then from there on out, we just look to hold the trade and go from there. So, Jesus, Chad, y'all are horny today. By scaling, I mean like scaling to more accounts and be able to get to 10, 20, 50K months. Been extremely locked past couple months. Been extremely disciplined. So to simplify, what tip of advice would you give to your older self? You mean my younger self? when you scaling from your first payout to multiple funds on multiple firms. I'd say this: just make sure with the firm that you are currently trading, it's a firm that you really feel benefits you. So for me specifically, Chad, I'm at a point, right, obviously, where I'm only trading a firm where I see it have a lot of potential upside in terms of scaling purposes. And TPT is that firm for me. It used to be Top Step last year before they incorporated their limitations. Take Profit Trader is mainly the only firm that I'm actively trading on with significance as of right now because of the fact that their live account approach is the best in the industry by far. Reason being, it's end of day drawdown. There are no limitations, no 5-day, $150+ policy. Any money you make over your buffer is money you keep every single time, right? So for me specifically, again, I love Take Profit Trader due to the fact that it's just a firm in which you have very little limitations, if that makes sense. You do have intraday drawdown when you first start on the sim account, but the moment you get over that, right, and there's the way we play that, but the moment you do get over that intraday drawdown, you really have no limitations. It's exactly what Top Step was last summer, 2024 summer. It's exactly what TPT live accounts are now, and I feel like it's great. And I've told them, like, I begged them, I'm like, bro, you guys are gonna get a large influx of users, right? Please don't change your rules because TPT, in my opinion, is the only firm left with the only capability to really truly scale up to 7 figures plus. Use a fixed stop or do you manually close trades? I use fixed stops, so I'll show you again. Like for this trade, we always have fixed stops. Our fixed stop here was 088. Beforehand I could just scroll to a random time. A trade like this, our fixed stop is 697. Go back before that. A fixed stop was right here. Boom. And then whenever I trail stops, as in like say I go break even or say I just trail stops entirely, you'll always see me mention an alert about that as well, right? We always talk about that. So, yeah. We do pretty well with that. How do you scale up successfully? I've bought multiple accounts and getting payouts. Always end up at the same position as I was at the beginning due to eval spending. Is there a way to preserve capital? Yeah, good question. Like I said, focus on prop firms that have a lot more upside, right? So like for as much as I love Tradeify, as much as I love Lucid Trading, their firms, their X multiple is significantly less than it's a lot less than like a TPT, because with a TPT you buy your evaluations, and then you go to your sim fund and then you get moved live. It's all uncapped, right? Everything you make, it gets realized on the live account, right? Everything. But with Lucid and with Tradeify, especially with Tradeify, what happened with me, chat, is I scale those accounts up and then I get moved live to 2 10K balances, which is I think a 20K. And then the rest of the money that I ended up making got forfeited. So chat, I had to forfeit over 6 figures of money, dollars, on the accounts that I scaled up because they had limitations. But when you look at a Take Profit Trader, I feel like you can yield so much of a bigger return, and there's a lot more leniency, right? Because there are no restrictions. So yeah. What are your thoughts on Salman Nasiri? I don't know what that is. Do you think day trading can be a permanent source of income? Yeah, it can, but you have to make sure you're doing the right things. If you're just, here's the thing with this question. I don't know what your perspective is, but if you're viewing day trading as solely money, you're not going to become successful, right? Because you got to focus on what gets you to that money, right? Consistently, which is the process. You got to focus on the process, right? A lot of people in chat, or just on Twitter as well, they'll look at trading as in, okay, how can I just make this amount of money today? No, you have to focus on the process of, okay, how can I follow my process the best way I can? Or how can I execute the best way I can today? Or, how can I become a better decision maker today? How can I be a better risk manager today? That's what you got to focus on. You got to focus on the process, chat. For example, I'll go back to it. If someone is a bodybuilder in the gym, chat, do you think they focus on getting first place at a bodybuilding competition? Like, is that what their process is? No. Their process is, okay, what's the best type of workout can I hit? What's the best type of workout I could hit today? What can I do today to more so benefit me to get me closer to that goal, right? What can I do? They're not just constantly 24/7 being like, okay, how can I get first place? How can I get first place? How can I get first place? No, they're focused on how to, increase their probabilities, right, into getting that first place by having a better process to get them in better shape, if that makes sense. Do you trade only PA? Any EMAs or order flow? Yeah, I just mainly trade PA. I'm not against it. When I was trading retails a couple years ago, I would trade the 9 and 21 EMA with a VWAP, and it worked for me. but I eventually ended up just taking them off because I feel like I didn't need them at that point because I was still growing, obviously, as a trader. I was profitable, but I wasn't like obviously making the money that I'm making now. Eventually, over time, Chad, as you put in more and more time, like I talked about, the right time, putting in, not only hard work but smart work, you won't need anything, right? You'll just know. You'll just know. So, what's the best cycle and how much test, baby? Huh? What's the best cycle and how much test? Oh, you're joking about the bodybuilder. I was about to say, dude, you're trolling. Can you describe working out in the gym? It means in trading. Is it just journaling back to? Yeah, so it's a whole process, right? Right. It's journaling. It's back testing, right? That's part of it. I don't really believe in back. Once you get to the point where you're able to more so have a good understanding about the charts, you won't need to back test, in my opinion, as much as you would think. I think forward testing, like live testing, as in just reading price currently as the markets are open, is the best thing you can do for yourself because you learn a lot more about yourself versus just going back at a random time. So I'd probably say that. But yeah, journaling is key. We have a journal section in here. We did have a challenge for that, but here the thing with these like challenges that I do, chat, they always fall off eventually. People just stop doing it. Yeah. But yeah, journaling is key. We have obviously talk about that. I think the good thing about what we talk about in our community a lot of times, especially on the live stream, is like the importance of psychology. I think psychology is still under talked about. It's still not talked about enough. I think psychology is super important. Like number one, number one. So we have a big emphasis on that, and we talk about that a lot. But it's just taking the right approach, right, chat? If you build your psychology up, you'll be a lot more committed to the process. If you're committed to the process, you'll take a lot more of the right steps. Because you'll still fuck up, chat. It's still trial and error. Like, I'm not a perfect trader, chat. You see me, I'm not a perfect trader. I'm not fucking Albert Einstein. No, I'm just a trader who just kept going and going and going. That's all. That's all I am, right? And over time, as you keep on taking the right steps, the main difference between me and somebody, random, say on Twitter, who's unprofitable, is the fact that I ended up putting my energy and time into the right things, right? Taking the right steps, following the right process versus just consistently coming in and day out, emotionally trading, going to revenge trading, P&L fixation, and just not focused on the right things consistently, right? When you're not focused on the right things, you will not get the right results. When you are focused on the right things, eventually you will get the right results. It's as simple as that. How do you achieve high conviction on each trade? I think it's just, again, I don't want to sound repetitive. It's just following your plan, right? When you have a system, when you have an approach that is winning and consistent over time, for some people, they could just more so watch me and see me win over time consistently and be like, okay, I'll trust it. Or for some people, it'll just need to be proof of concept, right? For them to win by themselves. For me, it's just like once you find it, right, there's no reason to not be convicted in your positions that you end up taking the market because you know what you're trading is proven to work. So as long as you keep doing that over time, no matter if you lose a trade here and there, it will be proven to work, if that makes sense. That's more so it. So for me, it's just like, it's weird because people they always praise me on like, Lanto, you do a good job of holding your trades. I'm like, to me in my head, I'm like, okay, like it's not that special to me because all I'm doing is I'm just following my plan. That's it. I swear to God. People will always commend me. I'm like, dude, I'm doing nothing. I'm not doing anything different, but just following my plan. How is following my plan special to me? How's that special? So it's just, you gotta take the right steps. And over time, you'll realize like you'll gap yourself compared to the average Joe, right? To the average Joe trader, right? Average Joe trader, they don't give a fuck about the process. They're not really as committed. If you really stay committed, like you'll see yourself, whether you realize it or not, gap yourself, right? It's like that Kobe mentality, right? That Mamba mentality where he always talked about putting in extra time, right? And the significance of that, right? He always talked about how even if you might put in an extra day or there of work, on the court, whether it's a couple hours, and it might not work instantly, right? You might not be able to gap yourself against the average NBA player, but over time, when you do it again and again and again and again and again, when you do that over and over again through years, right, months and years of work, you'll see yourself gap up, right? So that's the most important thing. And I always tell my people this, Chad, time will pass, whether you like it or not. Before you know it, we'll be in 2026. Before you know it, we'll be in 2027. So my thing to you is, why not just put the work in? I know it sucks right now, but why not put the work in? Because if you don't, you'll look back to it and you'll regret that you didn't. Because if you put in the work now, your probability of seeing mass success in the duration that you want to see mass success is a lot more likely as opposed to you not putting in the work, if that makes sense. So, how was my risk management involved with prop firms starting on a fresh account from when you were making no money then to when you were making about 10K a month? Well, here's the thing. I was making money before prop firms. I was already profitable before prop firms. So I had a good idea of risk management. Sadly, I had to learn through just blowing my personal accounts, right? I didn't have the pleasure, I didn't have the privilege of trading prop firms. I had to blow my own money to be able to really learn how I fucked up. So that's why I feel like you guys are fucking, in a way, you guys are spoiled because you guys have the opportunity to not lose anywhere near as much money as every trader had to do before prop firms were a thing. But yeah, I was profitable before props. In terms of your question, in terms of risk management, I'd say again, just go and focus on firms that you feel have a good leniency of rules to where you could have a lot of wiggle room to work with, right? When you first start trading, it's going to be a lot of trial and error. And so if you're on a firm that's very, very strict, right, you're not going to be able to have those growing pains then and there, like all of them, if that makes sense. Like you want to, at the end of the day, you want to have your growing pains as soon as possible, right? You want to get those, you want to get past those as soon as possible. When you do, right, that's when you could really start picking up. And I feel like if you're on a certain firm that maybe is very limited, you might not be able to have, you might not be able to do that. So just make sure you're in a firm that's a firm that allows you to more so be able to make mistakes, right, and be able to learn off. So, how do you manage when you started seeing profits and scale up into your or scale up in your early stage? Um, I mean, again, it's for me. It's always been simple. It's just I've never been fixated on the profits. You guys keep asking me questions about money, 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 money. You guys are focused on the wrong thing. You have to be focused on the process. You have to be focused about trading. You have to be focused on getting your psych in order. You have to be focused on being a better risk manager. You have to be focused on being a better decision maker, right? Through the charts. That's what you have to focus on. The only time you should be focusing on your risk parameters in terms of dollar wise is when you identify what your dollar risk per trade will be. As the moment you have that defined, right, is the moment you should be entirely focused on the process, right? That's more so it. So for me specifically, when I was scaling up, obviously in the back of your head, as you go back and review, you will more so look back at the P&L naturally, but your focus shouldn't be that all the time, right? Especially when you're trading on the charts. Um, but for me specifically, I just slowly scaled up, really. So like as I was seeing more and more consistency, I would jump a couple contracts here and there. For me, I would trade options. So for me, I'd take maybe one or two contracts over time consistently and be able to scale myself up. I don't think I really saw that major jump though until I started trading prop firms. So for me, I think before I really got into prop firms, I was able to get to the point where I went from zero, right, to about, I'd say like 30, 40K a month. Props is what allowed me to jump from like 30, 40K a month to six figures a month. But again, the reason I feel like I was so successful really quickly when I started trading props is because my process was no different. I was simply trading how I was trading via my live account on options as I was on my prop firms. There was no difference. I feel like the reason people don't find much success is because they got so caught up in the money. You have to make sure you completely disregard that, right? Because what matters is the approach. Chat, money is relative, right? Money is relative. Chat, I could go next week and I can make, $5,000 in one day, and then I can have a day where I make $500,000 in one day. Those 2 days won't be much different. The only difference in those 2 days is the fact that our risk management allowed us to hold that trade through and not get trailed out. That's it, right? And so people will look at those 2 days and be like, oh yeah, he worked a lot harder on that day he made $500,000 as opposed to that day he made $5,000. No. The only difference is that our risk management allowed our trade to go. Price allowed our trade to go without getting trailed out. That's it's as simple as that. That's really what it is. And as long as you follow your risk system, that's when you'll see the most progress, right? That's more so it. How do you reset after a max loss day? Or a day where you're not proud of yourself? How do you come back without the force or focus of your past performance? Yeah, it is a little frustrating. At the end of the day, we're all human. You're not going to be able to just completely disregard it, I will say. But I think what's important for me is when I journal. when I journal, especially that I've been doing it for a long time now. When you first start journaling, you might not see success instantly, but what you'll see over time when you do journal is you'll see a good reflection process that you end up having a lot of times where you can go back and reflect on, in the future and be like, oh, I performed, or I ended up closing out the day this way because I did this, right? Over time, when you journal consistently and you journal hard, you'll be able to more so go back eventually and recognize a pattern within your trading that you can more so look at and be like, okay, this is what I see here. This is why I feel this is happening. Let's take this out for a bit. Let's see if I subtract this off my process, will this result in better things? And over time, you'll see yourself get better. And so for me specifically, the reason I don't get caught up too much is because I know in the back of my head, like I'll always find what it is through journaling, if that makes sense. Because for people, the reason people will get frustrated after having a max daily loss, or hitting daily loss limit, or just even having a red day in general, or just not having the best day that they can, they'll get frustrated because they will feel like they don't know why they had that day, that type of day, or why they feel like they fucked up that day. For me, I know I will be good because I know within my reflection process, my journaling process, I will be able to find what it is, right? Chat, you go back to September. If you've been in here in September, right, we had like a 2-week stretch where I just absolutely was stagnant, right? Mid as fuck, right? But within that 2-week stretch, I never really was super frustrated because I knew eventually it would be found out, right? What was causing me to have that, stagnancy in the market, right? Was it my decision making? Was it my risk management making? Was it something in my personal life? Was it something where I just couldn't specifically process correctly? What was it? And over time, I found out what it was, right? And once you find out what it is, you take that out and you progress. It's as simple as that. You refine your strategy over and over again, right? That's the importance of journaling, right? Because, Chad, if you don't journal consistently, what you'll find yourself doing a lot of times is you'll find a strategy that you'll end up start trading, but then over time, you'll just be off the rails and you won't even realize it. But if you journal, you have a set structure through your system, and you have a set way of how you journal, and you'll notice, right, when you journal in detail, right, when you start doing certain things that aren't exactly what your system is, that you'll realize that you're being more undisciplined, and you'll more so catch on to that a lot quicker as opposed to not journaling at all, right? So that's why I feel like journaling is a key fucking aspect in my career. Like, honestly, journaling is so underrated because you catch on to things a lot sooner than you would if you don't, if that makes sense, right? So, in a way, like, journaling, it's a chat. We're traders, and a part of what our job is to risk management, or is to risk, or be a risk manager. As weird it is to say, but when you journal, you're a risk manager for your own psychology, if that makes sense. So that's more so what I'm saying here. When you journal, you become a lot better of a risk manager for your psyche in terms of your process, in terms of how you're trading, how you're viewing the charts. So hopefully that makes sense. Did I ever trade gold? No. How would you recommend I trade on a daily basis? That's such a generalized question. Like, I don't know what your situation is, and I don't know what your goal is. That's a very generalized question. Ask me that in more detail. You got a brand new 50K funded. What would be your first trade, contract, and size wise? Okay, what's the firm you're trading on, Big Dave? I need to know, because some firms are a bit different. But say like it's an Apex or a TBT 50K. What's the drawdown? It's 3K or 2K? Okay. 2K, if you're trying to be conservative, what I would probably do is I'd probably go, if it's an evaluation, I'm not gonna lie, chat, with evaluations, you got to be a bit more, on it. Evaluations, if you're about to try to be conservative, so you have less capital. I'd probably say risking around $200 per trade gives you about 10 trades to where if you hit in a row, like you'll blow the account. 10 trades, that's conservative. If you want to be aggressive, I'd say about $400 per trade. That gives you about 5 trades where you want to pass the evaluation. If you're on a funded account, because you do have intraday drawdown, I'd probably look to risk around $200 to $300 per trade on those. right? So you still have about 10 to 8 trades that you have of wiggle room. And make sure that, chat, when you do enter those trades with the intraday drawdown, you make sure you have one take profit and one take profit only, and you look to compound, right? Because when you realize your trade at the take profit, your intraday drawdown stays peak, right? So, say your drawdown's $2,000, right? Your drawdown stays at $2,000 when you take profit, right? So that's probably what I would say. Yeah, $200 to $300 on the FUDs, and look for 1 TP. And once you scale out, in terms of once you get out of the intraday drawdown, then it gets a lot more fun. Hardest part of the process to master for you, and how long until it finally clicked? I'd say just for me, the hardest part was my psych. It was scary, to be honest, when I was trading, because at first, like I said, when you first start trading, you're just so inexperienced. You don't know what to do but to fall back on your emotions, because you just genuinely don't know anything else. But once you start educating yourself, you kind of see what the process needs to be. As weird as it sounds, chat, like, I'm gonna be completely honest, I think the hardest part for me genuinely was when I was unprofitable and I knew exactly what I had to do, but I just couldn't get myself to do it. It's so fucking weird to say, but it's so true. Like, chat, that was like the scariest, because I was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, chat, I knew exactly what I needed to do, but I couldn't get myself to do it. I don't know if it was me just more so marrying the fact that my belief was that trading was a lot easier than what it actually was. I don't know what it was. Maybe I was married to money. I don't know what it was exactly. But, yeah, I mean, for me specifically, I knew exactly what I had to do in a way. Or not exactly, but I had a pretty good idea of what I needed to do to get on track, and I just wouldn't get myself to do it. So if you guys are in that situation where you kind of have a good idea of what you need to do, brother, just do it. Because I didn't, and, I did it, and look where I'm at now, So, at first it sucks making that change to where you just try to really get your mindset off the money, because I know, chat, like, for a lot of you in here, obviously we're all in here to trade, but at the end of the day, chat, what matters is the process. You want to see long-term big success, 7-figure success, right? In order to get to that point, you have to make sure you're following the right process, right? That's with any industry, right, chat? You think any big business ever, right, has ever just randomly gotten lucky? No, they've had structure, they've had ways they've approached it in terms of identifying how to more so make it a long-term sustainable thing, right? So, like, for me, I plan on trading until I'm 30, 40, 50 years old, right? This is something I imagine I do for the next 20, 30 years, right? And the only way I'll do it consistently is if I continue to follow my approach and work hard, but also work smart, right? Chat, you can't get lucky for 20, 30 years in a row, right? You can't do that. You can't just luckily make money. There has to be a way in the market that you go about it, and you got to make sure you're doing the right things. And so that's kind of what I did not want to face initially when I first started trading. It was super weird, but that's the honest truth, to be honest. I didn't want to make that change. So, yeah, you have to make that change. I'm in that stage right now, very frustrating. I know it is frustrating, but you have to really, bro, you have to, like, self-reflect and just be like, dude, like, I'm still so far away. That's what I did for me. I realized that I was still so far away, chat, and I accepted it. Eventually, once you accept it, that's when your turning point starts, because then you realize, okay, I'm far away. I've kind of recognized that now. What are the steps I could take now to make sure that I'm not as far as I was yesterday and the day before, and etc. So taking it one day at a time and really pushing yourself is what's key, right? Because again, chat, if you're in here to really make money trading, you got to take the right steps. That's really what it is. Don't believe anything anyone tells you on social media, chat. Honestly, anyone that more so portrays a narrative that you can more so, there's tips and tricks, there's secrets. Oh, you could become profitable in 2 weeks using this. Oh, you could use this fucking shit IFG indicator, which never fucking works, and make money consistently. No, chat, even if that indicator makes you money for a month, you're going to take that money, you're going to then go trade on your own, and then you're going to blow it. So, yeah. What does 1 TP means? 1 R on... No, 1 TP as in, like, have a take profit 1 on your trade, whether it's 1 R, 2 R. Just make sure it's realistic, and you more so look to compound day in and day out, right? So, for us, some days, Chad, a take profit 1 will be like a 1 R, Most times, though, it'll be anywhere from like a 1.5 to 2R. Just make sure you base your take profit off a relevant area on the chart. How do you know if an FEG is not good or not? Look at displacement and look at the fact that if it took liquidity or not. So if a gap's taking liquidity and if it's displacement, those are the type of gaps I usually look to trade the most. Displacement for sure is most important. The way you more so block out the noise is just recognizing what FEG is the best. So for like today's trade chat, our long, one of our longs, you see us take here today, is off a 1 minute gap that's very displacive, right? You look at this 1 minute gap as opposed to all these different gaps here. You see me find interest in going long off here, right? Because of the fact that this gap is displacive. Now, when I say that, chat, don't think you can look at any 1 minute gap and go long or short off it. No, there's a whole process to why I went long here. But in terms of entry model, the reason you see me eye this gap is because it's a displacive gap. When you have a more displacive or a bigger displacive gap in the market, typically there's a bigger inefficiency in the gap, which tends to usually allow the market to magnet to it better, if that makes sense. Chat, be honest. Would the market rather care about this fulfilling this gap more or fulfilling a gap like this or like a gap like this, right? Most likely like this, right? So you see price kind of come up, come back down, and then retest and then go off that. So what do you think breakouts or breakouts and pullbacks? I mean, we kind of use that. A large part of our continuation model is used through that. Right. Breakouts, breakdowns. Essentially, that's kind of what we do in a way. We're looking for continuation. When you look for continuation, you're looking for further more of a direction that the market's already moving in. So, yeah. Do I prefer reversals or continuation trades? And do you use the same strategy for both? What do you mean same strategy for both? They're the same strategy. It's just two different types of entries in the market. I prefer honestly, I prefer continuation models for higher win rate, and I look for reversal trades when I'm looking for higher R, if that makes sense. That's more so it. I'm not really fixated on either. Like I don't fixate on probability. I don't fixate on R. But whatever the market is telling me, right, I just more so go look to base off it. So if you look at the market conditions as of recently in the past couple weeks, we've been a lot more volatile. We've seen a lot more fluidity in terms of directional moves. So for me, I've just been looking at more so take continuation models. But chat, if the markets are ever in range, you know, when we see price just chop up and down, I'll look to take, you know, reversal trades off like a higher low. But again, when the markets are seeking large moves, you can look for continuation. I don't really align time frames. I just go based off this. I'm marking that daily, the 4 hour, the hourly for higher time frame narrative, and I'll use the 5 and the 1 minute time frame for entries. I'll use the 15 minute from time to time, but the 5 and 1 are the lower time frames I'll utilize because those time frames I utilize for like very small time frame narrative and also entry models. Do you ever look at Max 7 for no? I don't know what that is. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here soon. I got somewhere to be at 5:30, so. Let me do Discord. Yeah, Bray, I will. I'll imagine eventually though, cause you know I'm gonna be a bit older. It'll probably be at a point where it's only like a one-time feed thing, and I'll obviously be less active. Will I be completely not active? No. Obviously I'll still be in here, but yeah. By the time I'm 40 or 50, that's what 17 years. I think honestly, within 17 years, if I'm still on Discord, we probably will be on a different platform by then. Because I imagine in 17 years, technology will be to a point where, like, there's something better, if that makes sense. Be Mars in 17 years. But yeah, I'll probably, for the most part, be less active because I imagine I'll be retired by then. I do plan on retiring before 30, as crazy as that sounds, but yeah. Yeah, for sure, Bray. Always. I love doing this. I love doing this. So I have 17 years to learn the strat. Nice. That's funny. Our chat. I think I might wrap it up here. I don't really trade based off news. If there's like a big macro event like a FOMC or a CPI, I'll stay out of that. But for me specifically, I'll trade like how I normally do. But like when it comes to like those big macro events, I'll avoid it. I don't trade those. Too much volatility, too much typically a lot of wickiness. It just feels like gambling to me. So, why do you think most ICT traders fail? That's a good question. I feel like the reason why ICT traders fail the most is because they're not fixated truly on the process. They're just focused on liquidity and they're just focused on price reaching it, if that makes sense. They're not focused on price action. They're not focused on proper entry models. Like, Chad, I've seen so many traders who utilize SMC who enter gaps that get tapped into before any type of reaction or confirmation. For me, I can never do that. I feel like if I were to ever do something like that, my win rate would be like sub 20%. We use confirmation for a reason. But for me specifically, I feel like there's a bit more components, a bit more to what we do compared to an average SMC trader. We look at price, we look at price action, and we also look at entry models, right? Those are the three components. Identify your draw, right? Identify your draw and your bias. Once you've identified that through a higher time frame narrative, look at lower time frame narrative, right? Whether it's the opening range move, whether it's whatever it is, look to see if lower time frame is confirming in the direction of your higher time frame narrative. Once you have that multi-time frame alignment, it's set. Look at price action. Is price trading at an A+ premium? If it's trading well and we're seeing price trade at a good speed and momentum, look to be risk on. From there on out, okay, where is a reasonable entry model I can enter in the market that makes sense to ride either a continuation or reversal, right? Once that happens, once that aligns, then you have your three components, then you end up taking your trade. What ICT traders do, chat, is they see an area of liquidity get taken out, and they always think price will remove regardless of anything, because they're always in the belief that the market will always have the biggest eagerness into fulfilling every objective in the market. No, chat, there's going to be periods of exhaustion in the market. There's going to be periods of durations where price is just going to purely be at a state of equilibrium, right? So I think a lot of SMC traders, they see every area of liquidity that gets taken out as a trading opportunity, if that makes sense, and they lie to themselves. But for us, we recognize that there's more to that, right? The markets are not going to always move to every major area of liquidity. Chat. Be honest. There's days where you've come onto the chart and you've seen prices purely chop within overnight range, overnight data, where we do nothing but trade internal levels, right? That's going to happen, right? Our job as a trader, as a risk manager, as a decision maker, is to recognize that and be able to more so realize, okay, let's be risk off here. But on days where you do see price and data tell you, okay, we're moving at a good speed, good price, good momentum, that's when we'll look to be more so risk on. And for us, a big component of our trading is just more so price action. We always talk about this. You can never outtrade bad price, especially as scalpers. But the thing with SMC traders that they get, messed up a lot of times is that they always think that everything in the market is an opportunity to trade. No, it's not. No, it's not. Right? So. What do you mean by process? It's just your system, your model, the way you approach the market, that entire thing, right? Your psychology, your risk management, your decision making, all that. That's the process. You guys want the results, you got to make sure you do the right process. Right process equals right results. Wrong process equals wrong results. There you go. I got 2 Bs today. Any advice? That's fine. Break-evens are fine, right? Break-even trades are completely fine. As long as you are following your system and you make minor tweaks over time and you realize, okay, let me try this out maybe. Let's see if this works out. Or, you go back in your journal and you're like, okay, did I move my break-even stop a bit too early? Or did I do this a bit too early? Or did I do this wrong? Did I execute here wrong? Once you kind of do that over and over again, consistently through over time, you'll see what you need to do, right? And we kind of have that approach in the Discord, so. Actually, let's see the image. Yeah, this isn't bad. Price was just slow here, right? So you see price kind of come down, create that lower high sequence. And then you see price kind of build back down here. I actually don't hate this at all. Going break even here. You got to recognize that. It's not a bad break even, right? If you go break even here, through the recognition that price was not trading the best, that's completely fine. You have to accept it, right? Chad, there's going to be some days where you enter a couple trades and you're just not going to see a major result. Like we talked about literally 2 minutes ago, not every single day, not every single move in the market that does happen, Chad, is a trading opportunity, right? You have to realize that. There's going to be some days where the markets just do butt fuck nothing, and you have to recognize that, right? So like on a day like today, especially off the open, if you're break even here, that's still good in my eyes because you risked properly, as opposed to just taking blatant bad trades consistently without utilizing proper risk. So trades like this, don't be hard on yourself, right? Ever. Because as long as you're following your system, you'll be fine, right? Because eventually, over time, you'll get better naturally through doing the right things consistently. So don't ever be upset about that. We took a break-even trade today. Yeah, chat? We took a break-even trade, and then... yeah, we had a break-even trade as well. No, we ended up... we had a short, and then we had 2 longs. Yeah, so, okay. Yeah, so the first long was profitable. The second long was short. Or the second long was break-even. By the way, for anyone wondering, it is recorded. I'll post it after. How do you know when to trade? Just recognize price. There's a way we recognize it. Just recognize conditions, right? See how it is, right? Is price trading at a state of good follow through and delivery, or is price just trading up and down? If it's trading up and down like how New York Open did today, where we're seeing no real objectives and no real follow through into those objectives, you stay off. But like a day like yesterday, chat, you see price just flush through major areas of sell side and continuously showcase interest in driving furthermore. You can look to be risk on in those situations, especially if your draw kind of lines up with it. But like on a day like today, it's important to more so make sure you recognize price and you go about it. JB, I kind of showed it earlier. I don't want to spam it, but you can go back in the recording for today's video. I'm going to be posting for this class, and then you can look at it. Leo, but commentary for no. I did it last week. I'm not gonna, or 2 weekends ago. I'm not gonna do it again this week. Again, if you are late to this class, it is being recorded, so you can literally go back in the video that I'm gonna post for you guys and see it. So. This is probably the only class I'm gonna do with like the whole Discord. So I might do another space, but I just want to more so make sure I'm fixated on the premium side always. You guys want to see how the premium chat looks like? We're pretty active in here. Sometimes like general chat's completely dead, but we're always in here. So yeah, scroll all the way back. You can see this is still all today. All these chat logs are still today. So shout y'all. All right. Did you do an interview with James Sixsmith? I don't know what that is. Appreciate it, my man. Appreciate it, Kevin. Yeah, I try. You guys are owed that too, by the way. I mean, when people say this, I appreciate it, but it's just kind of like, it's the bare minimum, you know? My job is to make sure I'm transparent with you guys, right? Obviously. Like, that's what my job is. It's such a bummer that this space has become a space where transparency is just not the baseline. It's a fucking bummer, but it is what it is. I just try to be as much, because for me, Chad, it's just like, I don't know, maybe 19-year-old me had like a lot more to prove. I'm at the point now, Chad, where I just don't give a fuck. Like, Chad, I'm gonna run this Black Friday, so I'm gonna be completely honest. It's not even to make a tenth of what I make this month on trading. So it is what it is. But I'm just doing this more so to help you all out. right? Again, I'm shooting myself in the foot. Believe me, discounting my service as much as I'm about to do it, but yeah. And people ask me as well, like, a good question I get is like, Leto, you've already made so much money trading. Why would you not just help everyone for free? I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, chat, put yourself in my position and be brutally honest. If you're a businessman, right, why would you leave money on the table, right? If, not only that, but on top of that, right, chat, be honest. For anyone who has seen the chat today, if I were to make everything public and completely free, how many degenerates would I have in my chat asking me bullshit questions, and just aren't trying to learn the right things, if that makes sense? When you buy a service like I offer here, in my head, that's me knowing that you're taking a risk for yourself and you're investing in yourself to be able to learn, right? From time to time, you still have signal bots, you still have people come in with the wrong narrative and just completely be idiots, right? But most of the time, when people put in $100, whatever it is, put money into something that they want to more so buy, most of the times it's for the right reason, if that makes sense. So what happened to the Trader podcast the other day? We rescheduled it, but I got a bit upset because they didn't inform TPT that I rescheduled, and TPT had posted on socials that I was gonna go on that scheduled day, but I had to reschedule it because I was just super busy. Like I'm moving to Puerto Rico, so for me, I have a lot of shit to get done. So I'm like, yo, okay, let's just do it next week. They never informed TPT, which really pissed me off. I'm like, bro, communication's really fucking key. And now that made TPT look foolish, which I don't want, obviously. So. But they still don't know. Big Dave. They still don't know. Yeah, JB, it does. Especially when you're inexperienced, it definitely does. If you're experienced to the point where you've done this for so long, I don't think it necessarily means as much or matters as much because you're so like used to a certain mindset when it comes to trading. It's like I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, chat, when you do something for so long, like you'll get to the point where like you could be goofy, and then 1 second and the next second you just be locked in. Like, chat, anyone see that LeBron clip last night or 2 nights ago of him like laughing, and then a second later he's like talking to his coach in a serious? That's literally what me with trading. That's how it is. When you do something for long enough, like you could lock in instantly. Yeah, nah, I'm gonna love PR. I know. I'm gonna visit there sometime next week or sometime early December and find a good spot. All right, y'all. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Good freaking session, about an hour long. Gonna close out. Make sure y'all be alert for obviously the Black Friday deal. Not only for obviously the Discord, but for TPT as well. I'm really trying to like cook something up with them to where it could benefit you guys a lot. I'm trying my best, but we'll see what they do. Stay safe, y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all next time and see y'all in chat. Peace out.